Hello and welcome to Autism, the show that's always unique, totally interesting, and sometimes mysterious. Oh. Oops, did I mess up again?
Nope.
Am I there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
now you're there.
here.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know what happened there. We'll be talking about all things autism on the show. We've got Aimee Hogan, who you just heard, myself, Dick Dawson, and we have Booleanenator as well.
Yes, and we'll be looking at autism in all its forms, from little toddlers to adults, and with new topics every single week.
Yes, and tonight's episode is all about coping skills and strategies.
Ooh, good. This is going to be a real interesting deep dive into something that I think a lot of people will need besides people on the spectrum. Absolutely, especially parents.
Absolutely. Most definitely. I agree.
All right. Shall we just jump right in and get to it?
Yes, please.
All right. I had a read over the presentation before we got going, and
Okay.
very this is going to be great. I'll be quiet now. Take it away.
Sure. Okay. Some children and adults with autism often have deficits with executive functions. Executive functions are everything that you do every day to manage your own behavior.
And
Yes.
this I think we should go right to the second frame to make sure we've got everybody on track with us.
Sure. Do you want me to just keep going?
Sure.
Okay. It says people with these deficits may be able to learn specific behaviors to improve their executive function performance and emotional self-regulation skills.
Right. So we're not talking about something that can't be overcome, when that's exactly what the episode will be. But it sounded a little fine, end stop there. So I thought the second one would be good. There are many coping skills. Oh, did I go too quick on you, Boole, there? There are many coping skills and strategies that can help a person with autism. Some of them being create emotional levels chart and teach the person to assign emotional levels to certain situations. And that is we do it with an expanding circle drawing, and then that way, when it gets bigger, it's more escalated, and that visual works really great for us.
Absolutely. And what we do at home too, we've done the circles chart like that before too, and we have almost like a graph, like a bar graph, and he seems to resonate with Matthew as well, and it does help. He has the size of the problem, when should I be upset, when should I not be upset, and it works out really well.
Yeah, Bull, what do you think? Reflecting back, having a way to visualize it and really get a grasp on truly what's going on. I mean, wow, that's something I would have loved.
It would have helped, that's for sure. My mom's old adage of just let it roll off your back only took me so far.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, absolutely. I could have definitely used this too. Even well into my adulthood, it's like...
Yes, there's a few that I use right now, and I'm sure we're going to get to them as we go.
Oh, absolutely. I was doing some before we started.
Yeah, exactly. Boom, you want to take us through the next one then?
Sure. Coping skills and strategies. Talking to the person about what appropriate action should be to different scenarios. And using visual aids such as zones of regulation to help them measure their own emotions.
I like that. Zones of regulation. It's
Absolutely.
to keep things visual in these regards, you're going to see during this show we talk a lot about using visual aids and cues and whatnot. It can never be overstated how important it is.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, anything that's visual and tactile too sometimes is so much of a help. It just cements everything in, and as we go along too, we'll show you some of the different things that we've come up with that are just, yeah, it just helps out so much. Being able
Mm-hmm.
to actually see it helps a lot, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's not a
And
well, I was going to say it's not a one size fits all. If a particular individual isn't a visual person, then auditory cues could help too.
oh yes,
Oh,
absolutely. And in adulthood, you can relate this very much to you're having one of those days where the world's crashing in around you, so you go and watch one of your comfort movies.
Yep. That's a coping mechanism, definitely.
Oh yeah. Big time. Big time. Shall we go to the next one?
Yes, please. Yes, it says coping skills and strategies continued. Use social stories to provide a framework on what might happen in a specific situation and some guidelines of what behavior could be acceptable in that given situation. And of course, that all goes into structure. And if it's okay, I'm going to go on to the the next slide.
Sure.
Social stories don't have to be fancy.
That's right. As you can see, I'm not very much of an artist. But that's what it is. It's just anything that just resonates and works. And like Bull said, it can be audio, they can hear it, they can see it, they can feel it. It's like with Matthew, we do his social stories with those
Yeah.
lovely pictures that I make.
Tell us a bit. Tell us a bit about writing the stories, and this one's going to be specific about, and so on. Take us through how you do it.
Yeah, basically what we do is if we come up with a situation and we need to know, and he needs to know how to act in that situation, we just come up with a story saying this is what's happening. This is what could happen if we don't, we have to add in the consequences of our actions and our, our behaviors and everything. And then I show him what what we would like to see him do. And then during that too, we can show, well, see, because you did a good job and you stayed in line with your friends and didn't, wander off, you were safe and you were able to have fun with your friends. We had one where, you don't hit your friends, because if you hit your friends, they're hurt and you get in trouble. But if you're nice to your friends, they'll really like you a lot and they'll want to play with you again. So you try to make it so that, there's a consequences and a reward shown in the story. So that always helps. And those really resonate with you, don't they? You like your social stories. Huh?
Yes.
What are they saying?
Yay. Hey. Hope I had a good 15th birthday.
Yeah.
What else? What else? Another way could get in trouble? Detention for you.
Yeah.
Oh no, we don't want that.
No.
No.
Quick, let's write another story. Let's head it off at the pass.
Yes.
Exactly.
But what do you think, Bull? Hearing all this, the social story is a great tool, right?
I think so because I've never when I was in school there was a lot of mean kids, really a lot of kids. Kids can be really cruel to each other. So
yeah.
It boils down to what are you going to do if a kid is mean to you? And a lot of times I had no clue what to say to them back to get them to stop or de-escalate the situation. Because I obviously didn't want to escalate it because that would just make things worse. So
Right.
it would have been nice to have a social story to go along with that. If someone's mean to you, just ignoring them, like I said, like my mom said, just let it roll off your back. That only gets you so far. You can ignore it to a point, and then it's like they won't let you ignore them.
Right. Yeah. There's I get the meaning and the sentiment behind it, but the reality is not quite.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was such a good point. That was awesome. We had to, we had to have the story of the stories to make sure that that part of the story was fulfilled.
Absolutely. And Matthew's stories, because what I did is I put them all in a notebook. So if something comes up, I add them to his notebook so that they're always all together and he can go back over them again. And that helps cement the lessons that we're trying to convey in them. And they're actually kind of famous at school. They laugh because of all the faces that we my terrible artistry. So
Oh, I know that feeling all too well. As being a musician started to become a thing that people were actually interested in hearing me do, I had a lot of coping tools to figure out fast, because where I was coming from, it was too overwhelming when somebody would invite you over to a house party so that you could plug in your guitar and jam and basically be the entertainment at 13. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It was it was basically I had to pretend that nobody was there, all this kind of craziness. I'll save a few and do a few, but yeah, that was crazy. It was an unbelievable switch, because you know that people are interested in you for something that isn't really you. It's just a talent you have. I mean, can you imagine somebody being your best friend because you know how to take a good picture? I mean, why would somebody do that, right?
They
may be impressed that you can take a good picture, but they're not going to be your best friend because of it.
I hated that too.
Right.
I hated being put on the spot like that too. When I memorized November Rain on the piano, oh my God, you'd thought I was the most popular kid in school. Oh my God, he knows November Rain in his head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
When I was 12, we had a talent competition at the school. So I brought my guitar in, plugged it in, and proceeded to play Eddie Van Halen Eruption. And that was that. All of a sudden, hey, that cat can play, right? And it totally changed everything. It was a couple of weird years, but I got used to it and figured out a groove to it, right?
Absolutely.
But that leads to
okay.
that leads to more social
Yeah,
stories, because then you got to figure out posers from real fans.
It was unbelievably difficult for a few years. I don't think I figured it out until the time I was actually old enough to be playing in the bars.
Yep.
And that's a big stretch of years. Like, we're going from 13 to
Yeah.
19, right? Well, I started at 18 because they would pay me as if I was staff of the bar, and you can be 18 to work there. You just can't drink. So that's when it started for me.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. I had no idea what was going on around me, other than as long as I stayed away from most people and just accepted, yeah, okay, thanks, that's cool, sit down, chat, or whatever, and just keeping it small talk, I felt safe. I was okay.
Absolutely. Just focus. What I would do too is just focus on one person that I'm talking to, and then that way the whole crowd, if there's a crowd in the room, I didn't have to pay attention to it.
But if you do that during rock and roll introductions, and it's a member of the opposite or interested sex, you're leading them down the path you might not know what's coming.
Exactly. It could make for some mixed signals there, and that's also not good.
Yeah, I've been accused. I've been accused of flirting when I thought I was just being friendly myself, so I understand that.
Yep.
Yes, because when you're slightly on the spectrum or completely or whatever, there can be serious moments where you didn't see it at all.
Right.
It actually sounded like I was joking a bit, but I was laughing because it's funny, but it is actually true. And all of a sudden, you could be chatting with some chick for 30 minutes and you had no clue, and then you get kissed.
Yep, or they make a move on you. It's like, whoa.
Yeah. I'm like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, really.
What was that? Yeah.
Yeah, we were just talking about cars a minute ago. What's going on here?
Yeah. I think this works for the next slide. I should give in here. So this is funny because the last point. Is it my turn?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so coping skills and strategies continued. Keep a calm down box with things like, a fidget toy or something inside. And, there's lots of little items that can be introduced and accepted and be used in those kind of ways. Very good one. Use a reward system, and it doesn't have to be candy. We can be better than that. And then role-playing situations, I thought was the funny part to what I was just saying there. But if you got a child that likes to script certain things, one thing you can do is through like playing together, you can get them into scripting something that actually leads to targeted behavior. That's a pretty good one. I've done it.
Yep, I've done it too. Whatever you can to, to help the kiddo along. That's what I've done with Matthew too, is just, showed him what to do. And by playing and stuff like that, we've been able to definitely help him out with social situations and everything.
Yeah, it's a good one. Thoughts, Boole?
Well, I would have to say that I think role-playing situations would have helped me a lot in the past. Because there's things that just out of left field. Totally out of left field. Like one time, I was 8 years old, and there was this set of kids that were basically the school bullies, right? Everyone knew they were bullies. I didn't, right? I was trying to be friends with one of them, and he was cool as long as the other jerk wasn't with him, right? So one time, we lived out in a rural area, and there was a creek that went behind my dad's house. We went down to the creek, and we were playing around, and he sucker punches me. He just out of the blue, this mean kid just sucker punches me. Of course, I lose it. I've never been punched. I'd never given him a reason to punch me. He just decided it would be funny because he was a bigger bully type kid. And if I had been able to identify bullies, that might have been avoided. I would have been like, no, I really don't feel like going down to the creek with you and him. If it was just you, it would be a different thing.
Right.
Yeah, well said, because that's exactly it. I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No, I was just going to say there have been times when I've totally misread a situation and, thought that someone was different than they were, and they turned out to not have the best intentions. And I could have used some help in that situation as well, like being able to better recognize what people mean and stuff like that, and how to read them better. That'd be so helpful.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of that's me and that's me in the chat as well. People saying the same thing. Purple Rhymes with Orange had a great way to say it. I'm oblivious to flirting. By the time I realize someone is flirting with me, they've gotten bored and lost interest. That's the best one.
I know.
Oh, that's too funny. And, I want to go to the reward system again. So
Yes.
We use a system, and it's called tokens. And so Felix can earn tokens from compliance with, what we need to do. And maybe we're going to go shopping, and then we have to stop at another shop and then come home. And if I get good behavior the whole time, he's earning tokens at each store as we come. And then if he gets enough tokens at the end of the day, he gets to cash them in. And okay, it could be movie night. It could be, and it's something like that. I did find that as he got older, he's 13 now, we left behind this token system because it was easier for me to just say, okay, we're going to be out for about 3 hours doing our stuff. If you're all good and everything's great and our trip goes really well, then, we'll get home, fire up the movie projector and the surround sound, and you pick the movie, and that's that.
Yes, exactly. And we did based a lot on that same idea too. We use little tickets. As you could see how well I drew. I do this sort of the same things with the tickets. And then, we'd use tickets. So if he did really well in the store, running our errands, if we had multiple errands to run, you get a treat afterwards.
Yeah.
It wasn't candy. He wasn't a big candy eater anyway.
Or mine.
We'll have to tell you. Yeah, we'll have to tell you about the story about chocolate. what he thinks of it. But but yeah, he's and it really worked out for him. But now that he's getting older, we've eased out of that, you know, that reward system too. You know, we just basically, you know, if we get all this done, you can do this.
Yeah.
And it seems to work. It worked out really well.
Yeah, he knows, mine knows that like dollar store is on the menu if he wants, because I mean, if he goes to the dollar store and picks out two things, I'm not even down a $5. So, I mean, it's literally an option that he can have as one of his, you know, okay, I was great today things, because, I mean, what's $3 if it's like once a week or whatever, right? Who cares?
Exactly, and we've done the same thing too. Dollar store is a favorite. He finds stuff in there that he likes too, so that's a great place to go for the treat.
Yeah, works good.
It does.
Good.
Well, and rewards work good for long-term goals too. Like, okay, you're doing good in school. We're gonna take a trip over to this side of Colorado and just go fishing or something. You know. It was that kind of thing. Like, okay, we're gonna have fun. Like, my parents did give us rewards, but I don't think I mean, this kind of works with any kid to a degree. So,
Yes.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think Bull's up for a next slide then.
yes. Let's see here. What do we got here? Some coping skills during emotional dysregulation, which can be used by anyone. So this is when someone's starting to get into that panic mode and might be going down into a meltdown. You take deep breaths and focus on your breathing and be mindful of it. Count to 20. You know, giving it some time for your brain to actually think about it subconsciously, and asking for help. Like, if you can't think of a way to deal, ask somebody you trust for help.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Particularly to the breathing, I find it's very important that the deep breaths are in through the nose, out through the mouth, slowly controlled, and you get 3 of them in at least. Then you're on track for a real recovery, if the rest of it's handled properly. Wow, big caveat. But, you know.
Yes. Absolutely. And we do the same thing here too. In through the nose, out through the mouth, and just make sure it's nice and slow and easy. And it really, like you said, if you can at least get 3 done, then you're on the right track, and you can hopefully handle the rest of it very well, and help de-escalate. It works.
Oh yeah, I do it myself, and I've also taught Felix too. It's down to the point, him at 13, where he will do it on his own at times, but I do find I still have to say, hey, come on now, let's more often than not. But we're starting to get there where he is actually learning to self-regulate. So very, very promising looking situation.
Oh, absolutely. And Matthew's getting that way too. He's been doing really well with that, you know. Sometimes all I have to say, and everybody's heard it before, strategies. Sometimes it's all I have to say, come on, Matt, breathe. And but he's been doing really well with it too. So he does have to have prompting, but that's okay. I figured even if I have to prompt, even if he does it, then we're heading in the right direction. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, do you find the if you find yourself, getting a little more charged and whatnot, that just stop and take the counting time, that, as an adult, wow, powerful stuff, right?
Well, yeah, and I think this kind of leads into the next slide too, because just kind of removing yourself from the situation, which is what this is the beginning of removing yourself from a situation, right? So you're the situation's still there, but you're mentally distancing yourself from it with these techniques here, and it's allowing you to look at it from a calm perspective. So it does work, definitely.
Yeah. Why don't you lead us right to the next slide then, because it sounds like we should.
Well, and this is what we're talking about, talking to a friend or family member. right? Like if it's a situation that lasts more than 15 minutes and you didn't, it's a continuous pressure. Thinking of a way to compromise. Okay, so this person wants X and I can't give them X, but I could give them Y. Then that might be a way to get out of the stress. Walking away. That's my big thing. Like,
Yes.
hey, I need to get away from you.
Yep.
Don't trap me. Let me go. And then letting it go. Just, okay, if it's something you can't control, think Elsa. Let it go, let it go, let it go.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I did think of Boole when I was writing this down today. As I was getting this presentation ready, I was thinking, oh, yep, that resonated with me too, because he used to say that, needed some time, needed free space and everything. It does help. Sometimes, even when you're frustrated parenting, sometimes just going to the other room and walking away from it is such a big help. It's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. There's oftentimes during parenting in the world of autism when, you both need the time, the moment, just to let it evaporate away. And meditation, a little bit of music, maybe you're a dusting person, but whatever it is, use your outlet. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. As an adult, once we're aware of ourselves enough, we can pull ourselves into some of these coping skills a little easy. But it's very, very important to stay mindful of the fact that the younger ones can't, and they need to, they need time for these to become tools for themselves. So if you don't think it's working after 30 days, well, you're missing the point. It's going to take longer, but keep going. It's going to work.
It's going to take time. And yes, exactly. It's just going to take time. I mean, there are some things that we had to do with Matthew that some of it's taken 12 years to, that took 12 to 13 years to get done, but it finally did. And it was a success. Even if it looked like a failure for 12 years, the end goal happened, and it, so you just got to think that way too. 12 years is a long time, but there's an end.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And you've got to remember during all of this that tiny little moments of success are to be held onto and applauded and cheered, and because those tiny baby steps will settle in and become permanent. So, take your victory.
Oh yeah. Take your victories when you can. And I've said this before in other places, those tiny victories, they may seem tiny to other people, but they are huge when you're a parent of a special needs child. I mean, it's just absolutely huge. We've actually genuinely celebrated sometimes, with yay, woohoo, shouts and cheers. And
exactly. So do we.
Yes, because to us, it's humongous. So.
Yeah, and you just have to keep your eye on the prize, and
That's right.
Yeah, it won't be the length of time it takes to install real tools that will last a lifetime. Just keep at it. Trust us.
Yep, just keep going. Just keep swimming.
Yeah,
Dory
definitely
had
a
it right.
Dory moment.
Yeah,
Pretty sure Dory was on the spectrum too.
I think so.
Yeah, poster child right there. She's great. I love it. Oh, too funny. I guess Amy's turn.
Yes, please. Coping skills continued. These are also pretty big things too that I thought was, that it was impressed upon me was thinking of something that makes you happy and stimming as long as it doesn't harm self or others or is not too disruptive. The thinking of something that makes you happy really works because they have to, with Matt, because he has to stop and think, oh, well, I love to scooter. He's thinking he has to stop and he actually has to think of those things, and that has helped a lot. So it distracts him from whatever was stressing him. And sometimes I'm just kind of like pushing him out of the stressor, and but it works. And
Oh yeah.
if he's doing a small thing that he's stimming, I don't want to add stress by making him stop. So I just, let him do it, because it's obviously letting out that stress too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it's not one of the big ones where he's flailing around in a public place and he's just doing his thing on the side, yeah, absolutely. There you go. Work it out, right?
Absolutely.
That's the thing about stimming. It's both a tool and a problem all in one.
Yes. It is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
There's
good
that,
and bad at the same time.
yeah, there's that area where it starts to gray, and as long as you finally, and let it take time, it's okay. But as long as you learn where that gray area is, you'll feel it, and whoa, okay, and then you're good, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, that was making it really sound simple, and we're talking about some learning and some self-exploration if you're older, or if, we're talking about somebody who's, bringing up a child, then you're looking at, a decent amount of time. But, I mean, it's good,
Exactly.
Yeah, you'll figure that zone. And, then you've just got a nice wave to ride of, lighthearted, easy stimming that just soothes the soul.
Absolutely.
Too funny. I think that was a Barry White impression. I'm not really sure. Okay, so should I take to the next one here, guys?
Yes, please.
All right. So make sure to learn about and practice these skills when calm and relaxed, so that they will become easier to remember and use when they are needed. And that's huge, right? You need to make it personal. You need to make it your own. It's if you want an analogy that's kind of crazy, but I think makes sense. If you're a mechanic and you get a new set of wrenches and you put them in a new spot, you're not going to have muscle memory to just reach them right away. But, give it time, and you'll know exactly where to go for them when you need them. I think it works.
It does. It really does. And you just have to remember, and I, to this day, still have to remember this. Got to slow down, take some deep breaths, and and go at it slowly. Then I will remember, and it's like, oh, okay, this is what I was doing, this is what I need to do, this is what I have to do to get to de-stress and everything, and to help Matthew or whatever. And if I can do that while I'm calm and relaxed, then I'm really going to learn it, and I'm going to cement it if I keep practicing that. And it's the same with Matt too. If I, hey, let's practice some of this, hey, let's do this. And it works, and he remembers. And for example, like with the breathing thing, if I can get him in through the nose, out through the mouth, and he'll, at the end, even if he's stressed, he'll remember, and he'll breathe and everything. Then he'll go, Zen. So,
and one thing I've noticed too is online, Aimee, even when he hasn't done something incredibly serious, it's like you still kind of practice this with him, even without him realizing it, because you're the parent and you're noticed, like, hey, we gotta relax here. Take a chill pill.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. I can see you getting keyed up there, kiddo. So that take some breaths here, and it works. Especially if I can catch him before he gets beyond the point where I can't bring him back. But yeah, for the most part, it really does work, and that's one of his favorite ones too. And he'll tell you that that's one of his favorite strategies.
Cool. Well, I think Booleanenator's up.
Yes. Find a coping skill that works best for you in the most situations. And this is obviously going to be very individualized. Not all coping skills work for all people. So this is basically saying personalize your plan. Don't let it Don't let someone try to dictate a plan to you, but work with them to create one that works.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
you know, if you're in the adult side of this, you know, experiment with a few different things that you think might be that comfort zone for you. And then, you know, when you do find that one that just seems to work, lock it in, right? Exactly. You make
Definitely.
it yours, own it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've stressed this before when we were talking about, in the other shows. Once you've met one person with autism, you've met one person. Everybody is going to have different, skills and whatever from that, and they're going to handle things vastly different from one person to the next. Like,
Yeah.
one person could probably handle sensory stuff okay, but the next person is going to be sensory averse. You never know.
Right.
So
They
it has
don't call it a spectrum for nothing.
exactly, and it's the same with how they react to things too, and even within the same person to different situations where that might seem similar to other people. Like, some days he can handle things really well, other days he struggles, and that happens with everybody. So it's just, that's something you have to remember as well.
You know, the statement "same stuff, different day." Yeah, that's why like the same thing could happen to you 2 days in a row, and the second day, it just sets you off, and the day before you laughed it off. So a lot of that can be dependent on that.
Absolutely. Can depend on the mood you woke up in that morning. I mean, there's so many factors that are involved, and some days when you think you might handle it well, you don't. I mean, it's just what it is. And so, yeah, you have to make sure that it's, you have what's best for you and your situation.
And I would suggest that when experimenting with different things that could be your coping skill that really works, it's like your go-to. Keep in mind that you might not always be at home, and you might need it in public. So if it's to lay down and curl up in a ball with your head between your knees, I think we could do better.
Yeah. But much better, yeah. And that's why we fall back on breathing so much, because that is something you can do everywhere, and with a mask on too.
Yes.
So, the small things that help are fine. And like with Matthew too, not only does his breathing help, he has his critters that he can focus on, that he carries with him wherever he goes, and they're small enough to fit in each hand. So if he's just looking down at critters in his hand, it's not something that's gonna bother very many people. And most people now know our situation, so they know that he's on the spectrum, and that this is how things are. So most of the time they do really well with it. The people, because we shop at Walmart all the time, have been wonderful and
cool.
really good with him. So it's good. They know us and they greet us all the time, and he's comfortable there, because people won't tolerate anybody who's coming in, causing an issue with that. So it helps.
Yeah, we have the same thing here. Smaller, more local community. We're 10 minutes tops to two of the two big grocery stores and department stores and whatnot, and all of the staff know Felix to the point where I'm almost wondering if when they get trained to work at the store, they don't show them like, okay, here's one of the autistic kids that always comes in, here's another, like, because it seems to be almost instant that they've got this nailed.
That's actually a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. Paying
That's
attention.
what we're working towards. Exactly. And it's awareness, which is really excellent. And that's also one of my biggest reasons for doing these shows too, is to raise awareness, to show people, they're human too, just like the rest of us. It's like,
yeah. And we're going to get,
it does help.
And we're going to, going forward, we've got like some young and some adult guests, full on the spectrum people that'll be joining us, and we're going to get really into things, but we're just trying to build into it. So,
Absolutely.
our initial viewers know exactly where we're going and what we're up to. That makes about good sense, right? I'm taking this way off here. So I think we're coming up on the last slide of the night. Bull, do you want to take us through?
Yeah.
Sure. Make a plan in advance to help with recurring situations that could make a person or yourself emotionally charged. And this goes back to what we were saying earlier. Do it while you're calm, so you know what you need to do when you're not calm. And it becomes a tool that becomes second nature to you.
Right. And, advice for a parent that's, bringing up an autistic child. The plan would be, okay, so we're going to be at a grocery store, and then maybe we're going to go to the park, and then maybe we're going to, stop somewhere as a third and then come home. So, quickly in your head, just analyze the situations. And then that way, okay, this is the one that we should use. So, okay, honey, today, if we get a little bit excited, we're going to switch. We're going to go to this one, right? Yep. Okay, let's go. Right. There you go.
Absolutely. Oh, definitely. And we've done that before too. This is what we're going to do, and that goes back to the past episodes where we schedule everything. So.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Yep.
And Felix and I, what we'll do is, before we leave the house, I'll be like, Felix, okay, if we need a safe space, do you want to use Monty Python today? Yeah, Monty Python. Okay. So if he starts escalating, I'll just instantly pull one of the famous lines from the movie on him, and it'll instantly burst his bubble, and he interacts with me on the, scripting a few movie lines, right? And then we can get it to stimming, and then we can get it away.
Absolutely. And Matt will sort of do the same thing. He likes commercials, so sometimes if I, say a few lines from the commercial, he'll, and then he'll start going into it, or something from SpongeBob. He likes SpongeBob, and one of his favorite episodes is the one with the fish that yells about chocolate. And he loves him.
I'm with the Monty Python thing. All you got to do is say, "They call me Tim," and I'll be fine.
Yeah, I was just a flesh wound, something like that. I love him too.
Well, we use the Tim line all the time. Oh yeah, that's funny. But yeah, pick your tool and know your environment, and then that way, you got a much higher success of compliance and bringing them in, and as such, saving the moment.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, I think we look like we have come through coping skills and strategies.
We did it.
Wow. All right. So we pat ourselves on the, we'll do that after we're
Yeah. I'll go get a cookie after we're all done.
Exactly. I'm cashing in my tokens here, but we're not quite done.
Exactly. No cashing in tokens. We're done.
But yeah, what we'll do is we'll do our little after where everybody goes and does their thing, and it's really funny. Like, we are literally looking towards our rewards afterwards. We're not kidding. It's actually true.
No, it's true. Very true.
So what do you think tonight? Well, we covered that pretty good. What's your, as an adult that's learning and discovering and stuff, what's your big takeaway from things?
It always helps to plan ahead. That's something I got out of this, because there's a lot of times that things happen in real life that you can't control, and if you are ready for as much as possible, then you will have a much better chance of succeeding.
I agree with that 100%.
Did we lose Dick?
We might
Oh.
have.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I literally got muted by my voice meter setup. The light just came on. It was really weird. But, what's your wrap up on the situation from the parent side, Aimee?
Yeah, these coping skills definitely work. Making sure that he knows ahead of time what's going on, what is expected, and just using any of these, like the social stories, and the coping skills in the moment, before everything escalates. These things are all huge, and they really do make a giant difference in how the day is going to play out. Because if we just do something spontaneous, it's kind of like it throws him completely off his schedule. It's just not a good thing. But if we take things slow, like we said before, taking it slow and making sure they know exactly what's expected of them, what exactly is going to happen, it makes using the other skills that much easier to get him to use them if he does escalate. And it's really helpful.
I couldn't agree more. And if I try to add anything to that, I'm just going to make a mess of it. So I think on that note, we're going to wrap the show here, folks. From Aimee Hogan, from the one and only Booleanenator, and myself, Dick Dawson, I think it's time to say thank you very much for joining us on this journey. We hope you join us next week for the next episode. And I guess it's time to say goodnight. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.